Tuesday. Excited for this morning's conversation. And I'll tell you what, the world is run by those who show up, because your world is about to change and you need to understand how and why it's about to change in order for you to navigate what it is that you need to do to be the best fiduciary you can be for your clients. And you can't be the best fiduciary if you don't know how to get into a home and schedule a showing. Would you agree? Yes or yes? Yeah. So this morning, we're going to have a conversation with our friends over at Metro MLS to help you understand the changes that are coming down. But first, I think it's important to ground ourselves in our mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. And it's important this morning as we head into this, to the dialogue, to help you understand why it is that we're having this conversation proactively heading into the third and fourth quarter of when these changes will occur. And it comes down to our Y4C2TEs, okay? If you look at it, there's two things I want to point out in order in which that you can have an open mind to comprehend this morning's discussion. One is commitment in all things. If we want to be progressive in order to continue to drive change within our industry, you have to be committed to what the change is and continue to press forward. Two is communication. And the key piece to communication is seek first to understand. So as you have apprehension or you may have anxiety around change and what it is that you may do or how it is that you may operate in order for you to get showings, I would encourage you or challenge you is commitment in all things, and communication is seek first to understand. Seek first to understand what it is and why it is that change is happening and how it is and what it will do to impact you and how you operate your business. Make sense? Awesome. With that, I'm actually going to flip it over to Chris Carrillo, the CEO of Metro MLS, to give you a macro overview as to the 10,000-foot reason as to why change is coming. And then he's going to kick it off to one of his great partners who helped us develop the new showing platform called Aligned Showings, Chris. And Chris will help you get a bit more of an understanding as to what's coming down the pike and what the platform will look like and how it impacts you. Make sense? Beautiful. With that, Chris, I'm flipping it over to you.
Good morning, Charlie. Thank you so much for the opportunity, the invitation to speak to, 106 of you this morning. It's a fantastic showing, and I appreciate, again, the opportunity. So good morning, everybody. My name is Chris. I know many of you. With me today from Metro MLS, you already heard about Chris Lambro has joined us, and I'll kick it to him here relatively soon. Also, Darnell Wiltz is on here from our team. Darnell's going to be important because you're going to see a lot of him. He's going to be in the field a lot, training and answering questions on aligned showings, and as well as any other MLS question, but specifically aligned showings. So what brought us here? As we know, the world is shrinking to an extent. The big conversation in the multiple listing service world is that just a few years ago, there were over 900 plus MLSs in the country. That's a lot. Today, that's closer to 500. The same thing can be said with brokerages. There's a lot of consolidation. There are a lot of economies of scales that happen with that. And so when you take a look at the tech acquisition from the last 2-3 years, it's interesting. Everybody is for sale, seems like, and one company is buying another company almost every other day. And you know that because Inman does a great job sensationalizing the background of some of those purchases. And some of the whys behind it. Well, we got stuck into the middle of one of these a few years ago. I say we, and that means you, and that means us as the multiple listing service. Our showing platform, which quite frankly is the flagship showing platform across the country, Showing Time, was purchased by Zillow. That's not new. Zillow has pushed their tech acquisition extensively, especially the last couple of years. But what made this acquisition so different is that they've become, number one, a broker, as you already know. They are a real estate broker. They are a participant within Metro MLS. But they also purchased a service that MLS has delivered to competing brokers and agents. And you've heard us say for the last couple of years that we have an operating principle at Metro MLS to say that we will not purchase technology or services from one broker and then deliver that to another broker. In essence, we're kind of picking winners or losers in the marketplace, and that's not our place to be. So it really creates problems with multiple listing services and conflicts of interest in how we deliver software. And it's grown a little bit from there since then. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on history, but it's important to know why we're making these changes and the fact that we're not just making a change to make a change. So we were actually we were in a strong position when this changed. When we got over the shell shock that, in fact, that this purchase happened, which let me remind you that to the tune of $500 million, ShowingTime was purchased by Zillow. So Zillow really wanted this technology, but also access, I think, into the markets that ShowingTime has across the entire country. Metro MLS is one of 7 companies that owns a company by the name of MLS Aligned. MLS Aligned is a company of MLSs who themselves have historically done their own software development. And so really, we went into this some years ago to say, let's share technology and development that we've done. And as a matter of fact, some of that should be familiar to you if you've used Monsoon or Rapid Stats or any of these other products. These are all examples of services that we deliver that were actually developed by another MLS somewhere. And so when this happened, every single owner of MLS Aligned, which is, again, Metro MLS, Utah Real Estate, which operates really as a statewide MLS for the state of Utah, Arizona Regional MLS, RMLS in Portland, Oregon, MLS Listings Inc. in Silicon Valley, California, and since then, Beaches MLS in Southern Florida. We got on a phone and said, we all have the same problem in that we're now delivering a service to our members owned by a broker, and we have to do something about it. After 2 weeks of looking at the build or buy method, we decided to go down the road of purchasing a proven product that was alive and well. Agent Inbox was its name on the East Coast, serving more than 100,000 realtors in the marketplace. We were aware of the product. It had been used and shelved, not because the product was poor, but because the company was it was fueled by venture capital, and the company wasn't run well. And so they shelved the company. We had an opportunity to go in and buy that IP and the software of Agent Inbox. And so as a collective, we put a lot of seed money into it. We purchased it. And frankly, Metro MLS is really, I want to say lucky, because I don't believe in luck necessarily, but we were lucky in that we have here as our CIO, Chris Lambro. Chris Lambro and I go back 20 plus years, and he's really one of the best data guys in the business. Has a really good vision, I think, on MLS platforms. Was able to come in, and he's been acting as the CEO and chief architect of Aligned Showings for the entire country. And so he's right here in this office. He's a Wisconsin guy like me through and through. So outside of the fact that he's a Cubs fan, he's a Wisconsin guy through and through. So we purchased that software in the last 2 years. Chris Lambro has really jumped in and developed the product, and I'll let him talk about all that he's done. Here's the important thing that you all need to know. We took a proven product, we developed it, we updated it. It's been launched in California. It's been launched in Utah. And I'll let him get into the usage numbers, but just know that we are not the tip of the spear. You are not guinea pigs in a petri dish. When we develop and implement this product here in this market, it will be viable, it will be easy to use, and it will be solid. We don't want to, number one, we don't want to disrupt the marketplace and implement it at a bad time. And so we'll talk about that in a second, but I'm not going to give you a piece of software that doesn't work. End of story, period. Does that mean that you're not going to find a wrinkle or a bug? No, that's impossible. You can go into proven products and find something, but we want to make sure we give you a robust solution to replace ShowingTime, because that's really what we're doing, right? We're solving the problem of delivering a product to you by one of your competitors in place of a product that is owned and operated by the MLS. And so that's what we're doing. Again, remember why we're doing this. It's a product developed by Zillow, or owned by Zillow, now developed by Zillow. And really, if you take a look at it, it's not just developing or releasing a product for use by the MLS by one of your competitors, but we don't want to find ourselves as the MLS helping develop and prove the business model of any broker, frankly. And that's really what this is. If you take a look at the Zillow platform, whether you want to start that process as a consumer, as to find a mortgage, to list your home, to stage it, landscape it, to do any number of things. Showings is part of that ecosphere. And so when you take a look at what they want to do, they want to further commoditize the transaction. And that means the same platform that you have historically scheduled showings on in the MLS, they want consumers to do directly through Zillow's platform. And they like that because if a consumer goes in and schedules a showing on Zillow, what are they going to do with that? Well, they don't have the agent base here to manage that. They're going to sell that as a lead. And so Metro MLS cannot participate in a broker business model, period. And so we're going to stop that by implementing our own solution. So the reality is showing time is used around the country. It's around the state. I think in every MLS in the state, period. They are the best at what they've done. And frankly, their management is just fantastic. Just a quick side story. Michael Lane, historically, he was their CEO of Showing Time before Zillow purchased it. They knew such the asset that Michael would be in this purchase. And so part of that $500 million purchase for the software was to actually get Michael Lane as part of it too. I say that because Michael is a friend of mine. Michael's been a friend of mine for a really long time. Michael Lane is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy. He was a submariner in the Navy. And when my son, who goes to the United States Air Force Academy, applied, I reached out to Michael and asked for a letter of recommendation, and he was kind, he gave it, et cetera, et cetera. I tell you that because we don't have anything against Showing Time. And the people there are fantastic and their product is great. As a matter of fact, it's so great that when they developed it, and Chris will tell you a little bit about this, they were smart. Every aspect of the Showing Time platform has been patented and trademarked. That means a competitor cannot come in behind them and simply copy what they do. And that's an important distinction to know, not just with how we developed it, but when you actually get access to the product and you look at it, that you can appreciate the fact that we developed around it, even though it may in some cases work faster and more seamlessly. And so on that case, on that point, I'm just going to hit pause and ask my friend Chris Lambert to come in and talk a little bit more specifically about the product. First question that's going to come is when is this product coming, Chris? Well, over the next couple months, Arizona will go live with it. Portland, more than likely, will go live with it. We're looking at a Q4 launch. So that means late November, early December, be ready. We will do lots of communication about the product. And when we implement it, we will run the systems concurrently. So you'll have the option to schedule a showing in Showing Time and MLS aligned or aligned showings. The problem is that the two will not talk to each other. And so we hope that through a period of attrition and communication that more members choose to just start scheduling showings through aligned showings versus Showing Time. So on that point, Chris, now I'll officially kick it over to you.
Thanks, Chris. Hey, KW, good to see you this morning. Yeah, so a lot there, right? A lot to talk about. It's definitely a move from Zillow to kind of control the beginning of the transaction funnel. That's how we see it. They already have the eyeballs with the web viewers, and the showing information is right there, right at the beginning of the transaction. So that's kind of what kind of spearheaded this type of movement. But with all that said and done, this product is actually quite good. And we were really lucky to see it available and obtain it. And part of the last year, this has kind of been like one of my top projects, definitely, if not the top project. And just remember this, our main goal here, our mantra is to make the migration from Showing Time to aligned showing as seamless as possible. Every little decision that we made when we booted it up and when we decided on finding bugs and changing things, had that in mind. And we're now about a year, in development, and things are moving really well. We are pretty close to matching every single feature available in Showing Time and then expanding, which is our goal. And long term, our goal is to take this data, that we keep talking about, this metadata that's so valuable, and bring it back to the rightful owners, which is going to be, the brokers and agents. And I think that's long term. Give us a little bit of time. We got to get the system up and running and working, get everybody migrated. But that's a long term goal here. This isn't just a short grab. This is we're in it for long term. So all that said, I was asked to come and give you a quick kind of look at it. I didn't want to hijack your day. I know everybody's busy. So I thought, maybe a few slides to show you what's going on. Down the road, we will introduce you to Darnell. He is our ambassador of training and all good stuff. He's DW You guys are KW. I think there's a match here. I don't know, but he'll give you some real, cup of coffee, couple of hour demos or whatever you'd like. But for right now, let me show you some slides. So if we can get rolling, let me know if I got to share my screen. Oh, cool. Yay. So this is it. I wanted you to see this first because 90% of our agents are going to see this as their introduction to Align Showings. This is after you click the schedule a showing button in the MLS. And again, most people will interact with the product first from that button. That button, that site license button, is so valuable and so important because it allows the quick flow of viewing in the MLS to scheduling a showing. So right after you click that button, you're brought into our product, and this is what you see. It's a very simple calendar driven. There's a little blurb about some showing information with a photo. This is a Utah, listing that's actually for sale. It looks like it has more gravel than grass in the front. So I don't know. But anyways, it's pretty easy. You see the calendar view. It's very simple to scheduling a reservation at a favorite hotel, right? Pick a date. And then if you click next and you go to the next slide, it's a 3-step process. This is where you just select the time. It's a little drag slider there. You can't see it in the slide, but it kind of, shouts out at you. It's animated. So it's very obvious that you slide it around. You can easily see that there's a booking already at 10 o'clock. So we can't go see this gravel front house in Utah at 10 o'clock, but it looks like 11 o'clock's open. So we're going to pick that. The duration is that little drop down. So it's very simple. If you want to go longer or ask for more than 30 minutes. And if you click next, the final screen there is, put a note if you have a special note. There's something that, you absolutely have to tell the listing side, and click send, and your appointment is scheduled. Notifications go out. Now that's the thing. The notification is going to go out to the listing side via text, via email, however they like to set it, and you like to set it in the program. The program has its own settings. We'll get into that. But this is the flow. This is really, a major portion of a scheduling platform. It's really about appointments. It's an appointment center, and this is going to be the first interaction. If we go to the next slide, after you click send, when you go to schedule appointment, this is where you're really brought into what we feel is going to be the success story here, the major success story. This is what garnished Agent Inbox its award. It received an award in our industry for messaging, and for the way that it handles messaging and how it improves the connecting between the buyer side, seller side, and seller tenants and teams. It's a little complicated from a slide, but there's three forms here. The left are just every single appointment conversation. When you schedule an appointment, you don't just schedule an appointment, you schedule a conversation, and it's all there for you in our messaging section. In the middle is the actual message. The system message, there'll be system generated message, like you can see there, hey, I want to schedule an appointment for, Monday, July 31st. But then you can also type in a quick message after that to contact the listing side with more info, or they can contact you. Each message generates a notification, and whether you want that via text, via email to trigger, you in your everyday life, that's up to you, and you can set that. But this is what we feel as the life of the transaction is going to be important. You're going to have the whole conversation right here for you. And I think that's something that's going to set this apart than the market leader ShowingTime today. The third part of the screen is just more of an info screen. You get to see the other side, the contact information for the listing agent and their team. You can also modify your appointment here and get the MLS number, stuff like that. So this is going to be an important part. So,
hey, Chris, quick question for you. This came up from the group. Is all of this done through the MLS app, or is this a separate applet that these guys will need to download to manage?
Yeah, no, just like ShowingTime, the market leader, it's a separate app. Once you click on the button in the MLS, you're in our Align Showings platform, just like you are with ShowingTime. So does that help? Or?
Yep, perfect. And then the second piece from a clarity standpoint is the conversations that is had within this window. This is the listing agent is able to see the conversations with all other buyer's agents, but the buyer's agents cannot see the conversations with other buyer's agents being the listing agent, correct?
Right. Yeah, this is private. This is listing side, selling side, but it gets deeper. And if you take, if when you do a training session, you'll see that there's also a little section for team notes. If I want to contact just Darnell, and in this particular conversation, I would click on team note and drop him a note here where only he would see it. If I had a full team, I could pick anybody from that team. And so this is a real hub of conversation geared to you. But what can be viewed on both sides is pretty simple, so hopefully that helps. The seller tenant, by the way, doesn't get involved here. We've kept them out of the conversation for now. For future growth, maybe that'll be something we would let let the user select if they want to bring them in here. But for now, the seller tenant, we're keeping out of the messages. They have the ability to approve showings, and we'll show you that in a second, but we're keeping them out of messages.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris.
Cool. All right, next slide. So this I thought would be, it's a little small to see, but the top portion is that same Utah gravel-based property. This is the listing agent, and this is what they see. They'll get a notification on their phone or their email, whatever they prefer, saying, hey, Chris from Milwaukee wants to see this gravel property in Utah for some crazy reason. And they click on the link and it'll take them to Align Showings, and it takes them right to the messages. And you can see it's pretty simple, green, red, right? And this is one of several. There's a few different areas where you can approve, decline. It all depends on you. But this is just the default one. So I thought I'd show it for you. It's pretty simple. And if I had a team, and I'll show you a little bit more about that, I could assign the role to approve or decline, or for any of those folks that are part of my team. We've taken teams a little bit more serious. Out of all the MLSs and MLS Align, we're really the only one that has teams baked in the MLS as an object, which is, it's not a very popular thing around the country for MLSs. So there's only a handful, but we've taken it a step further, and we've done a few extra things with teams, and we hope to grow with that as time goes on. But I just wanted you to see the top part is the listing side, about bottom is the buyer side, now seeing that they've been accepted. So cool. Any questions or anything on there?
Yeah, Chris, just one other thing from a messaging standpoint. Is there an opportunity similar as to the platform that's utilized within the market today to message all buyer's agents that have either shown or are scheduled to show?
Yeah, so crazy. Showing time's been around for a while, but it's based from the Midwest. I don't know if you guys all know that. It started in Chicago. Chris and I were part of the MLS that they actually brought the idea to way back when, in 2000s, when the Cubs had a good team as well. But anyways, but that question that you just asked, Arizona and Utah could care less about that, which is so weird. But in Chicago and in Milwaukee, that's very popular. It's very important. So yes, Charlie, it is in the product, but we handle that a little differently. We call it a broadcast message. And actually, can you go to the next slide? I'll show you what that's all about. So that's the appointment side. So the next important part of a scheduling platform is your listings and how they appear in the appointments, how you set it up. And this is our version of that. This is Align Showings. You go to My Listings and it shows your active listings. It's a little deeper than that, but for right now, we're just showing you active listings. There's a little like radio icon on that first listing there in Hurricane, Utah. That's the broadcast message. Yeah, thanks a lot. That's the broadcast message where you can send a blurb to anybody who has an approved appointment or a pending appointment on that listing. So, but we're only giving you one shot, and we're starting off like this. We may modify, but we're really worried about spam. At the MLS with Showing Time, we hear a lot about people who kind of overuse that feature. So we're putting a limit on it of one, and definitely send us your feedback. Hey, drop a line right now in chat and tell me I'm crazy and you need to go higher than one. But we want to try to, as an MLS, we also have to safeguard the community, right? And there's bad actors that are just going to go crazy on this. And as a product itself, it could get us a little in trouble as well. So we're trying to safeguard the broadcasting issue. In the meantime, you can still go to your messages in every conversation, talk your head off to every single person you want. But that's our broadcast feature. So anybody?
I think you're smart in thinking around putting a framework or guidelines as to how the broadcast feature works.
Awesome.
You're thinking about it the right way.
Cool. All right, cool. And we'll ebb and flow. There'll be other things I think that we'll either get really right or really wrong. The good thing about all this, guys, is that this is not just a product offered by the MLS through a vendor, it's made by the MLS. So that suggestion to implementation to production is going to be much faster pipeline. That's the whole idea of this as well. So, this area here, again, like I mentioned, setting up your listing. So you'll see your active listings. If we go to the next slide, you'll get into some of the stuff. There's 5 things that we've kind of chunked up into different areas in listing setup. Some of you may want to go into all of these. Some of you just want to go into one. The first one is basically how you want your listing to present on the platform. Do you want it to have instant approval, meaning it's a vacant house, you don't care if somebody asks for an appointment, if it's available, it's yours. I think that's also known as show and go or go and show. For us, we call it instant approval. Or you can set it to require approval, which is the default, by the way. That's where you need somebody to actually approve it in the product Align Showings. There's options there where you can send a message to everybody who requests an appointment for whatever you may have. For instance, hey, watch out, beware of dog in the basement, whatever that stuff is. You know all that better than I do. We have some courtesy fields for lockbox. If you happen to not use Central Lock or whatever, you can pick the brand of lockbox that is located at the property in that little drop down. And if it's if it's a non-electronic box, you can put the code there that'll pop up. And remember, we've paid a little attention to this. That sort of stuff only appears to approved appointment on the buyer side. They'll only see that stuff once you approve the appointment. They will not see it until that happens. And then the last part, we call it advance notice. It's also known as lead time. Those special showing clients where they need some time before any approval. So you can tell Align Showings, hey, don't accept any appointments within this time frame, an hour or two, or even an entire day. You may need 24 hours, something like that. So that's inside Align Showings right out of the gate. And these are major features from Showing Time. Any questions come up there or?
Yeah, Chris, one follow-up question to, you talked about one side of the maybe disapproval or blocking out certain periods of time. Are there certain periods of time where, let's just say, a seller goes out of town for the weekend, and as long as it's not double booked, that it's just automatically approved, that the buyer's agent isn't waiting for the seller or the listing agent to approve the showing? Is there an automatic approval period in which that you can create a rule?
Yeah, that's you would have to come in and set it to instant approval for that time period, but that's a great thought as far as making that kind of like a script, that you can do. Right now, you would just, before you go on vacation, change it to instant approval and change it back when you come back, but as far as making that a block of time that you can just open up for anybody, that's an idea, but we don't have that yet. So,
got it. Thank you.
And if we go to the next one, the second chunk here in listing setup that's going to get a lot of use, especially from you guys, I think, is going to be what we call office involvement. That's where you can just pick and grab anybody in your firm and add them to your listing here in Align Showings as a team member. There's once you pick somebody, you can only pick them in your firm. They can be from different offices. If you have multiple offices, branch and main offices, you can pick anybody from that area. And you can really set them up with either one of two roles. You can have them allow them to see the showing request, meaning they get those notifications just like you, or you can just say no showing request. That's really all you can do right now. This is one of those things that we're going to grow with as time goes on. But we heard a lot from, especially the admins that just come in and set it up. They don't need to get pinged every single appointment after that, or brokers who just want to, see the action in that. And so that's one of the two roles. But once you add somebody as a team member, they have the ability right away to see the conversation from when they entered, not from before they entered. So there's some little knick-knack things. They'll have the ability to approve or decline showings. They have the ability to add a seller tenant, which is other stuff I'll show you. They'll have the ability to set that to instant approval. They have pretty much everything. But that one notification on off is the one setting that you can throttle. Stepping back real quick, if you have a team that you constantly use, there's a global settings part in Align Showings where you can set your team and forget it. And there's also the new thing I talked to you about. We're importing your team data from the MLS system and automatically applying it to all your listings. So if you have a team in Flex MLS, it's going to show up here right out of the gate. And that's how we're going to start off with. And this is going to be something we'll just have to, culturize as we go along. So
Cool.
cool. All right. The next part here in listing setup is seller tenant. Boy, what a huge portion of appointment that when I got into, I was surprised how much control like seller tenants negotiated with their agent. I mean, if I sold my houses a couple of times, I never would have asked my realtor that I wanted to handle this. I was just like, just tell me when to leave, but we heard a lot that some seller tenants want the ability to approve and decline. So we baked it in the product. When you add a seller tenant, you can set them up for just notifications only, meaning that they'll just get pinged when there's an appointment request, but they'll have no ability to do anything. They'll just view it. That bottom screen is the seller tenant view. They do not get a login. We want to keep them out of the system just for the security aspects, for at least to start. They just get a view of their property and a list of all the appointments. And actually they can see appointments that were declined or, appointments that are approved in chronological order. And then if you do want to give them the ability to approve, they'll have those two boxes that it shows on the bottom. Pretty soon, we're also going to give them the ability to view the feedback if you allow that. So again, the agent controls everything. But we want to make sure we're feature matching with the product leader out here, which is ShowingTime, and make sure that we have all those creature comforts that, agents and teams all like to do their own way. And you don't have to add a seller tenant, but if you do, it's going to be out of the box. We have a contact section in Align Showing where you can see all your seller tenants. Your broker can also see that as well. And you can export them if you have a CRM or tool that you like to use with seller tenants. So that you can see in a Darnell future showing. But for right now, that's just info I'm going to give you. Anybody have any questions on any of this? Or
Yeah, Chris, if a showing has been confirmed, and let's say circumstances change, does the seller tenant have the opportunity to decline a showing once it's already been approved?
Ooh. You know what? I think right now, no. I think with seller tenants, we set them. Now the agent does, and anybody on the team does, but I don't. I think right now I would have to get back to you on that, Charlie. That's a good one. We haven't heard.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, there's a lot with the seller tenant. There's a little bit more internet security stuff that we had to be careful with because there's no login. Well, there is a login. It's like a token. So there are certain things that we had to change, but that's a good one. If we need to add that, we would definitely put that in the hopper. So cool.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Then another section 4 here. We're still in listing setup. Hopefully you're following. This is another important thing. Time, date restrictions. When do you want to make your listing available for showings, and what do you want to block out? We have it all covered as far as bells and whistles. Do you want to do a whole day? Do you want to do like a certain hour of every day? How crazy it gets. It's all up to you. It's a pretty easy self-driven system. The one thing we don't have yet though is a template that you can just set it, and have it auto applied to your listings. But we have that coming in production probably by the end of this year. So it may make it for Metro launch. And I know that that's a common ask from agents that we talk to. So cool. And then the fifth thing here, the last thing in listing setup, is custom feedback and surveys. And we've heard a lot of things about feedback and surveys. We hear agents that can't stand them. We hear agents that say, anybody uses a static survey, they're doing a disservice. It should be a casual conversation. But it is part of ShowingTime. It's been around forever. People are used to it. We had to put it in. So there's a default survey that the MLS has. You can take a look at it in Align Showings. Darnell will definitely show you that. But if you don't like the default one, you can create your own, and you can create as many as you want. There's a template manager in our system. You can give them names, so you don't, so you can kind of remember where they are. It's a very elegant, ease of use, but powerful area of an appointment, an important thing for you as you understand how you're producing at showings and what value that you have. And as the market gets tighter, these things get more eyeballs for sure. So this is something that we're going to probably grow for sure, but out of the gate, it's looking really good. The only thing you view the feedback. So how the feedback works, you can have no feedback, by the way. You can, by default, there's no feedback for your listing. You have to turn it on if you want to engage that. 1 hour after every showing, the showing side gets pinged for your feedback survey. And so it's a dynamic thing. And then I believe they also get pinged the second day. We heard a lot of negative things as far as we don't want to get spammed on these things. So I think we handled it with just 1 hour after the showing. And then the next day, the showing side gets, hey, reminder, please leave your feedback. Once the feedback is left, the listing side is notified and can view that information in messages. That's where it appears right now. In the future, we're going to show it in My Listings as well, where kind of like as the hub of all your showing activity for each listing. And you'll be able to kind of thumb through every single survey that way, and then eventually export them. We've heard that that's a need. That's not in the product today. That may make it for Metro launch, but may not. So a lot to cover here. Any questions on this?
I have some, but I think we're going to keep you going because I'll wait to see if you touch on it.
Sounds good. So the next thing I wanted to show you guys is the calendar, which is kind of the hub of the product. You can use the product. You can log into the product by itself, or there'll be another link in Flex to take you to the calendar homepage. And this is going to be a hub here where it'll show all of your showing side and listing side appointments. You can do a lot of things here. You can approve and decline. You can modify appointment requests here. You can search your listings and get a view of them. You can there's a custom date range now. You can interact with your third-party calendars like Yahoo and Google and Outlook. So there's a lot here if everybody's going to have their own kind of feel for it. The bottom of it from the calendar, when you click on any of those little yellow or green or red icons, you'll get a little overview of the appointment, like in a pop-up. And that's what I'm trying to show at the bottom there. There's a much better Utah property, it looks like, showing there with a swimming pool. And you'll get a little bit overview. It's kind of like a 3-box setting where you get a quick overview of the appointment. You get a contacts overview where you can see the other side, the listing side or the showing side agent with all their contact info. Even if you just have to call them, all that stuff's. That's the other thing we heard, besides using your fancy dancy system, we just need the other agent's info everywhere. So it's going to be in your notifications, it's going to be in messages, it's going to be here. And then lastly, there's a history, but I kind of wanted to show you that because I think it's pretty cool. It's a chronological timeline of everything that happened in your appointment. So cool. The next thing I want to show you real quick is routes. That's when you have that whole boutique, hey, come on in my car, we're going to drive around, look at some showings. And you want to throw them all together in a route, let the system kind of tell you what may be the best efficient way to go through these listings. You can definitely do that. Just like today, it's called Showing Cart and Showing Time. And we'll have that out of the box for Metro. You have the ability to add a stop that's a non-MLS, let's say Starbucks, which is pretty popular these days. I would add that to all of my routes, I'm pretty sure. You can reorder the routes. You can share it with your client. You can share it with anybody. You can print it, the route as a PDF. There's a lot of good stuff out of the box that I think you'll be excited to play with here. So. And then I wanted to show you a couple of things. So I'm back on the messaging thing. Yeah, I know I'm crazy. Maybe I'm wrong about this. But I wanted to show you the cool thing about the message platform. You could see that in that first slide. It's so cool. Like today, messages come from agents and they come kind of unannounced. And with a product like Aligned Showings, we kind of bring the community together. Every message is, who you're dealing with. There's a little bit of a security aspect here too that I think we have to say as well. The bottom slide is back to the messages being, that's the team. The color changes when you're in private mode and you're only talking to one of your team members. And I thought I would show you that. So that was important. And then I think the next slide, I wanted to talk a little bit real quick about the mobile apps. We got some killer mobile apps already out in the store. You can, in Android and iOS, and they're much more elegant. If you're an agent on the go and you're going to be using interacting with Align showings on your phone, you definitely want to download the app instead of use the web version on your phone. It'll save you a lot of pinching and squeezing and all that stuff. It's much more elegant experience. This is just a quick screenshot of somebody looking for a showing in the product, and then the next screen. I think I'm probably going to do the messages. Yes. Yeah, I know myself. So this is what messages looks like on your phone. It's a little bit cleaner. It's more like, using WhatsApp or whatever you use today. I don't know, Discord or whatever new thing I never heard of. And then the next slide, I'm probably going to say, okay, cool. So this is the add a showing. So I talked about most people are going to click the button, the MLS, to add a showing. Well, if they're on the phone and they get that notification to add a showing, this is what's going to look like. Your phone's gonna, from your email or from your text, when you click on the button, the link from us, your phone's gonna know if you have the app or if you're gonna be, if you don't have the app, you're gonna go to your browser. But if you have the app's gonna load. So that's kind of a cool little thing. And this is what add a showing looks like on your phone. And then I think the last slide is gonna be, yeah, this is just gratuitous, crazy me. So we launched in Utah in February. We have totally annihilated the market there. We have about 80% market share. 80% of the listings use Align showings versus the market leader. We're really proud of this. We have 101,000 approved showings. Every little blue dot there, that's Salt Lake. I don't know if you've ever been to Salt Lake. It's beautiful, and it's even more beautiful when you have fun like this. So this is something that we're really proud of, and something that we haven't done before. So it's exciting, and we hope to bring this to Milwaukee. And that's pretty much all I got for you, Charlie.
Cool, Chris. Thank you. Appreciate your willingness to kind of jump in and give us some dialogue as it relates to the platform. A few follow-up questions for you. One is data availability. So as it relates to agent utilization, ShowingTime has some nice reports that agents are able to utilize of other comparable properties to show kind of the activity in and around the area. Is there similar data capability that these guys will have access to?
Not out of the gate, guys, and I'm sorry about that, but long-term, definitely. There is a report section, and right now you'll see the activity on all of your listings and all of the listings that you go to, but it is definitely in its infancy compared to what you may be used to. But we're going to grow that for sure. So,
got it. Second question for you, just give some clarity for these guys as it relates to timeline. I know that you don't want to give a definitive, like we're going this, November 1, December, whatever it may be, but just more of a broad picture of when these guys can expect to start to see some of these changes being implemented.
I always like April 1st. I'm just kidding. No, I'm going to defer that to the other Chris. So here's the thing, guys, we don't want to disrupt the market, right? So we're not crazy. We're not going to throw this new tool in the middle of summer or spring, most likely Q4, most likely end of year, most likely when we're all at our Christmas parties. I don't know, but let's see what Chris says. What are you thinking?
Again, we were really ready, I think, from a product standpoint to launch it early spring, but there's no way I want to disrupt your business. And so the numbers all show that the best time to implement a new product is really when interested buyers aren't scheduling a lot of showings, and that tends to be when the snow starts to fall or when it gets cold. And so there's a couple of implementations from other MLS markets between now and us. And so we, the first FBS implementation will be in Arizona. And so that will be unique. We want to make sure that that rolls out well before we simply say it's going to be on the state, because obviously that could, depending on what issues we could find, we want to give ourselves some time to minimize or mitigate a lot of that disruption that could happen. And so, and that's all things being equal. And as we anticipate, I would again go back to how I started to say late November, early December. And you'll know about this. We'll make sure that well in advance of it. Because again, we want to be as proactive as Charlie started off by saying. We'd rather be proactive than reactive. And if I could, Charlie, I'll give a plug for Keller Williams in your office. you are the first group to have us come in and do a one-on-one session about this product. And so thank you for being proactive on that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for your willingness to help us. As we started to see some of the changes in the background, we wanted to make sure that we gave you guys the opportunity to understand what's going on.
Yeah. And if I could, I saw another question in there, and it's something that every MLS market has been working with. Utah did a fantastic job with their implementation. What they did is, Charlie and I talked a little bit about this yesterday. Showing calendars and products don't talk to each other. And so while the programs are actually running in parallel, they aren't truly going to be running in parallel. And what I mean by that is when we implement aligned showings, showing time isn't just going to be yanked away the next day, because that would be disruptful. But the problem is, let's just go through this from a practical standpoint. I'm Chris, and I am a realtor. I'm the broker at Carrillo Real Estate, and I'm working with buyers, and I schedule showings for one of Patrick Simonis's listings. I see him up there in headphones. So I'm just picking a name out there. Hey, what's up, Patrick? I schedule a showing on his listing. Well, what if and I happen to use aligned showings. What if he's still using showing time? He'll get notified through aligned showings if you set it up. And maybe Chris can tell me a little bit more about that, but it's possible that we're going to have some disconnection in that period of time. And so we're going to have a running clock. We're going to annoy everybody about it. Did I say annoy? I mean, overly communicate on social media, on emails, every platform that we can have a blowhorn on to say X amount of days until showing time is no longer available through the MLS. And so we want to really crunch that time down. Utah was very successful in implementing that to the tune within the first month. Chris, do they have 60% of showings going through aligned showings? And so we want to run it the same way. And so it's really through attrition, and it's going to be follow the leader. It's whatever realtors are using is what the market will navigate to. And we hope to gently nudge everybody with this countdown clock.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we're doing in San Jose too, guys. We launched there, but they're a little different. San Jose and Silicon Valley, they don't have a market leader. The showing time never existed there. They do $1 trillion in sold volume out there every year in that MLS. They're very specific. And I think their showings are done by real people, like assistants. And I think sushi is like at every showing. It's just a different world. But we have about 10,000 showings approved out there. We've been in Silicon Valley since December of last year. So we're doing well there. But honestly, it's a different thing. It's not a traditional area like we're used to in other spots.
Perfect. Chris, last question for you, and then we'll wrap this up. One of the questions within the group was helpline. Is there a helpline available for aligned showings? How is it managed? What's the expectations as it relates to if someone needs help?
Cool question. Yeah, definitely. So we're a support culture MLS, and how we're doing it with aligned showings is we're letting the MLS handle the first level of support, and then we have a second level team from MLS Aligned backing them up. So you'll be dealing with the same people you do today, the wonderful folks at Metro MLS to handle all your issues. Inside the product, there's a help center you can click on, or you can just pick up the phone, or however you do it in the app as well. So I hope hopefully that helps. And I know that there are issues definitely on the weekends. We have to make sure, because that real estate happens, showings happen a lot on Saturdays. So we're going to be available for you, just like the MLS is today. I hope that helps.
Well, and I'll be the first to announce this. We're in anticipation of this. We are expanding to Sunday coverage as well. There'll be truncated hours, but our support line will be open 7 days a week in anticipation of this. And Charlie, just the gratuitous full circle here. I started off with the why. Here's one thing that you'll never have to worry about. This product isn't for sale. So you won't wake up tomorrow and see Inman sensationalizing that Aligned Showings was purchased by CoStar or by insert brokerage name here. We are not for sale. And that was the entire purpose behind this process to begin with.
Perfect. Chris and Chris, thank you guys for jumping on. And guys, I would leave you with this as we kind of wrap up this morning. there's a key piece to this that we talk about internally within our KW culture a lot, and it's making sure that the agent remains at the center of the transaction. The purpose behind this is to ensure that the agent remains at the center of the transaction. You've noticed today, as Chris walked through the platform and showed you, the agent controls a lot of the features and how you interact with the features and how you coordinate in that dialogue. The other piece to it is that the Metro MLS controls and retains the rights to all the data, which is important for you because you as members own the MLS, right? It's a full circle platform to talk about, as Chris says, it'll never be sold. So it's a very progressive move by Metro MLS and aligned MLS in order to make sure that the agent stays at the center of the transaction. Lastly, I'll leave you with this. Salt Lake City launched this in February. As of today, on August 1st, they have 80% of the market share, Aligned Showings does, as it relates to showing activity. Okay. The reason why we were progressive in wanting to roll this out and give you the information on August 1st, while you've seen some of the emails come out, is it takes the market leader to make a move and the rest of the market follows. As the market leader, as it relates to listing inventory in southeastern Wisconsin, the more that we as a community adopt progressive change as it relates to Aligned Showings, the faster the market will move. And I will use an example. Century Lock lockboxes. When we went from old school to new school, we led the adoption. DocuSign and .loop, we led adoption. So as you think about what this means and how change impacts you, the more that we adopt it, the faster the rest of the market will follow, which is why we wanted to lead the discussion here on August 1st, coming into a Q3, Q4 rollout. Sound good? Beautiful. Chris and Chris, thank you guys for your participation. Appreciate all your guys is willing to help. If we have questions, guys, feel free to reach out. As I dropped into the chat, one of the things that I love that they mentioned was from suggestion to implementation should be incredibly fast. So if you have suggestions, feel free to reach out to your KW leadership and we will funnel this up to the team over at Metro MLS. Sound good? Beautiful. With that, it's an awesome August 1st, a beautiful Tuesday. Guys, it's great to be back and to see your lovely faces. We will talk to you guys soon. Have a great Tuesday. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Keller Williams.